Welcome back to my channel, my dear Libras. We are here to do your love and your career reading for the remaining of June, and we will see and find out where are we heading in the context of our love life and your career lives. Okay, so Libra, as we move into the last half of June, I want you to really slow your mind down for a moment, okay? Because the energy I'm picking up for you is not something that is rushing forward aggressively, but instead, there is something that is unfolding slowly, quietly, and in a way that almost makes you pause and reflect on everything you have been feeling over the past few weeks, my friends. Okay, if I see this card, there is heaviness in your emotional space, okay, but it is not a kind of heaviness that comes from a specific event. It is the kind that builds over time, when clarity is missing, when answers are incomplete, and when your heart is trying to make sense of something that has not been fully expressed to you, friends. And I feel that is what is exactly where you are right now. Okay, so in your love life, my friends, there is very strong presence of someone. This is not a fading connection, okay? This is not something that has been disappeared emotionally. In fact, what I see is the opposite. There is emotional presence, but it is hidden beneath silence, beneath distance, and beneath a kind of emotional control that makes it very difficult for you to read where things are truly going, okay? So you are in a dilemma. You are not understanding where do you stand. This is what is happening this has been happening from past few weeks or few months, all right? And because of that, friends, in your mind, it is like working overtime. Okay, with the Page of Swords energy in here, you are trying to interpret what is not being said. You are trying to understand pauses, delays, and the change in tone as well. You know, the small actions that may or may not carry any meaning. You are still thinking in your head over and over again. And over time, this starts to create an internal fatigue, because your emotional world is no longer just based on what is happening, but on what you think might be happening underneath, friends. I feel like this connection between you and this person has gone through a phase recently where something shifted, okay? It may not have been a dramatic argument or a clear ending point, but something subtle changed, the emotional flow between you two. It could have been a misunderstanding, a moment where something was left unsaid, or even a situation where both of you felt something strongly, but neither of you expressed it fully in the moment. And what tends to happen in this situation like this is very important to understand right now, okay? Because instead of addressing the emotional discomfort directly, both people pull back, with the Six of Swords energy here. Not because they don't care, but because vulnerability feels risky. So silence becomes a form of protection. Distance becomes a kind of emotional safety, and slowly, without either person intending it, communication becomes less natural, more calculated, and more uncertain. But Libra, silence has a way of creating its own presence over time. Even when nothing is being said externally, internally the emotions do not stop moving. They continue to build, they continue to replay, and they continue to seek resolution. Okay? With the Magician energy in here, there is emotional pressure forming in this connection now. Not chaos, not drama, but pressure. The kind that makes someone start thinking more seriously about what they actually want to say. The kind that makes avoidance feel heavier than honesty. The kind that makes silence no longer feel like peace, but instead feel like something unfinished. And I do see a movement, okay, beginning to form because of this. It doesn't feel sudden or explosive, okay? It feels like a slow emotional shift where communication starts to re-enter the picture. A message, a check-in, a conversation that may start casually but carries more emotional weight underneath that what is being directed than what is being directly spoken. Okay, but Libra, I want you to understand something very clearly here. The purpose of this communication is not just contact. The purpose is clarity, because this is not a connection that can continue operating in emotional ambiguity for much longer. At some point, feelings that are not expressed clearly will demand expression one way or the other, okay? At the same time, I feel a very important shift happening within you personally. You are starting to become more emotionally aware of your own limits. You are beginning to recognize that love should not feel like confusion for extended period of time. That caring for someone should not require you to constantly decode their silence. And that emotional stability is not something you should have to guess your way into. Okay? This realization is subtle, but it is powerful because slowly changes how you respond. Because it slowly changes how you respond. You begin to give less energy to uncertainty. You begin to stop investing in situations that do not give you emotional grounding in return. And without forcing anything, your emotional boundaries begin to form naturally, friends. Talking about your career, friends, the energy frequency changes, okay? Because here I see the magician energy. I see, of course, the pressure, but I also see structure being built at the same time. It feels like you are in a phase where responsibilities are increasing in a gradual way. You may not feel dramatic change in position or title, but you are feeling an increase in expectation, consistency, and responsibilities from the people around you. Okay, with the Page of Swords energy, and while this may feel overwhelming at times, especially internally, what you are not fully seeing yet is how closely you are being observed in this phase. People are paying attention to how you handle yourself under pressure. They are noticing your consistency. They are noticing your reliability. And they are noticing how you continue to perform even when things are not perfectly comfortable. This is not loud recognition. This is not public acknowledgement yet. This is kind of recognition that forms quietly in the background before it even becomes visible in front of you. It is trust being built slowly in career. And trust in career terms is one of the most powerful things you can have because it eventually turns into opportunity. Okay? At the same time, I do see some tension or competition, around you in the workplace. With the Five of Swords energy in here, this is not something that directly blocks you, but it is something that can distract you if you become emotionally involved in it. There may be people trying to prove themselves, situation where ego becomes major, okay? Or even moments where you feel the need to defend your position or your work. But the guidance here is very clear. Your growth in this phase is not going to come from reacting to everything around you. Okay, it is going to come from staying focused on your own direction, your own responsibilities, and your own long-term goals. All right, because not every situation deserves your energy. Not every challenge is meant to be engaged emotionally. What I see happening here in your career overall is a building phase, okay? A building phase are often misunderstood because they do not provide immediate visible results or rewards. Instead, they focus on laying foundations, okay? Foundation of trust, foundation of skill, foundation of reputation, and those things do not show immediate results, but they determine everything that comes later. And I feel by the end of June, something begins to shift internally for you, not necessarily in your external circumstances right away, but in your mindset. You start to feel a bit more grounded in yourself, a bit more aware of your capability, a bit more confident in the fact that even if you do not see everything clearly yet, you are not standing still. This is what I got for you for the remaining of June, my friends. I will be back soon with your July reading. If you connected with this reading, give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. See you next time. Bye-bye. Take care.